So here's the problem nobody really explains. You're not bad at speaking. Your input to output ratio is completely skewed. Input comes in at the speed of light, honestly. Output lags way behind, and that gap gets bigger and bigger every day you don't touch it. So the goal right now isn't to sound good. It's to stop the gaps from getting stupidly large. So speaking is idea production, not mouth movement. When most people hear practice speaking, they immediately think about moving their mouth, pronouncing words, forming sounds, getting the mechanics right. And sure, mouth movement is part of it, but it's actually the easy part. Mouth mechanics, they catch up surprisingly fast. You can shadow a speaker for a few minutes, mimic the rhythm, repeat words and phrases, and suddenly the physical act of speaking feels more natural. So that's a quick win for you. But the real challenge, producing ideas in real time. Speaking is really about idea production, getting thoughts out of your head and into the language fluidly and quickly. That's the part that trips most learners up, especially when you don't have a practice partner. It's easy to move your mouth, but it's hard to think in a new language and convert those thoughts into words on the fly. So here's the good news, right? Idea production is absolutely something you can practice alone. You don't need a conversation partner to begin, flexing your mind muscles. You can create your own mental dialogue, practice forming sentences, and get used to the process of translating thoughts into speech without the pressure of real-time interactions. So I treat speaking as idea generation first. Performance comes later. The focus is on training your brain to produce language, even if it's messy or imperfect. This is why in my system, Language OS, the mouth is just the delivery system. The real work happens upstairs. So if you're stuck in, I can't practice speaking without someone, try shifting your mindset. Speaking isn't about producing perfect sentences with perfect pronunciation right away. It's about getting comfortable with your own ideas in the language, making mistakes, refining and repeating. Start small, shadow a video, repeat phrases, talk to yourself. Get out of your brain, get out of your head. That the mouth will catch up with practice, but the ideas, that's what your attention needs first. Remember, speaking is idea production, not just mouth movement. So master the idea part and the rest will follow. So you need to create a second person. And here's the method that actually worked for me. When I didn't have a practice partner, use a piece of paper or use a notes app. And the creation of a second person, it sounds simple, but it's really powerful. You invent a dialogue partner, you ask a question, you answer it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to sound crazy smart or super polished. The goal is to just get ideas out of your head and just into words. So, for example, you ask yourself, what's your goal for 2026 in your target language? And you can answer it badly, slowly, and perfectly. Maybe your grammar is a little bit off. Maybe you pause too long. Maybe you forget a word, something like that. And that's okay. The point is production first. So after you get the ideas out, that's when you tweak it a little bit. You adjust, you clean it up, you build on what you've said. This flips the typical language learning order right on its head, because most people, they try to be perfect before producing, but in reality, production comes first. Correction comes right after. This method removes the pressure of speaking to a real person. No judgment, no awkward pauses, just you, your thoughts, and the language. You get to practice the messy middle, where ideas become sentences. It might feel awkward at first, I won't lie to you. Talking to yourself can seem pretty strange or useless, but it's one of the most effective ways to build fluency when you don't have a partner. It forces you to think actively, form sentences, and engage the language on your own terms. This is a core practice that I do. I emphasize production before perfection. You get your brain used to generating the language, and then you improve it over time. This approach trains your mind to speak, not just to listen or just to read. So, you grab that paper or open up your notes app and just ask yourself one question today. Answer it out loud. Don't worry about the mistakes. Production is number one. Correction comes second. So, shadowing helps with your mouth sync. Once your ideas start flowing, it's time to layer in a little bit of shadowing to sync your mouth with your brain. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to short clips and immediately repeat what you hear. You try to match the rhythm, the tone, the pronunciation. And I like using YouTube Shorts for this actually, because they're repeatable, they're fast, and pretty low friction. So you just want to pick a clip you enjoy, something you find fun or interesting, and don't worry about imitating an accent perfectly, that you should have. You don't want to sound exactly like your mom or your dad or your friends, because you don't, and that's okay. So you'll never, if you can't do that in your native language, you shouldn't sound like the person in the video exactly for your target language. So shadowing helps your mouth catch up to your brain's ideas. It trains muscle memory, develops rhythm, and builds confidence. The more you practice, the more automatic speaking feels. So you repeat the same clips over and over. Don't stress about perfection. The goal is to get comfortable, right? Moving your mouth in sync with the language. It's not about sounding like a native right away. This practice is safe and natural. It's a bridge. It's a bridge from silent idea production to confident speech. It's a way to practice speaking without the pressure of a live conversation. So remember, shadowing isn't about perfection. It's about practice and patience. You're training your mouth and your brain to work together. Over time, you'll notice your speech becoming smoother and more natural. So pick your favorite short, hit play, and start shadowing. Repeat it until it feels easier. You're building the physical foundation for comfortable and confident speaking. So early on in language learning, you don't have an output problem because you don't have enough input yet. So that's completely normal. You're busy absorbing vocabulary, absorbing grammar, and absorbing the sounds. But once you hit like the low hundreds of words even, the danger just flips. And if you keep telling yourself, I'll just speak later, I'll speak later, the gap between input and output just grows exponentially, right? That gap becomes a barrier between making speaking feel super scary. And it's not that you're bad at speaking, it's that you just waited too long to start producing. You don't need to be perfect, the perfect output artist. You need to keep that gap just reasonable. Speaking regularly, even imperfectly, keeps your brain in sync. It reduces fear and builds confidence. This is like the mind the gap principle that I thought of. The bigger the gap, the harder it gets to close it later on. But if you move your mouth just a little bit every day, produce a couple of words or a sentence, the gap stays manageable and speaking becomes easier and more enjoyable. So don't wait for perfect skills before you start practicing. Start small. Say one sentence, make mistakes, learn from them. The gap shrinks. So remember, your brain is wired to learn best when it feels safe. Like any living thing, when that gap feels like a cliff, your brain panics. When it's a runway, your brain relaxes and flies. All right, so keep the gap reasonable. Speak regularly. Don't let the fear grow. That's how you build real, lasting fluency. So before today ends, ask and answer just one question out loud in your target language. Okay, even if it's ugly. That's it, and then you just move right on. So this only works if it stays fun, okay? If skipping a day makes you angry at yourself, you're doing it wrong. You want to miss it. You want that damn, I had something I wanted to say today, all right? You want that feeling. That's when consistency locks in. That's when input becomes the fuel, not homework. And that's when language stops being something you study and starts becoming something you use. By the way, no pressure, but there's a link underneath this video where you can have a look at my paid programs. When you trust me enough and feel like my free content has changed your life, you can have a look at that.